guys, so we're back here with week 2 of analogies. Last week we did synonyms and antonyms, and we'll continue reviewing those. This week we are going to do part to whole, tool to worker, and producer to product. Our focus is still the same. We're focusing on solving analogies by determining the relationship between words. And our objective is that we can solve analogies from the 8 common types of analogies. And our standard is still just L65, demonstrate an understanding of the relationships between words. And we'll know we've got it when we're given 10 analogies and we can correctly solve 8 of them. So don't forget what you know about analogies from last week. You guys did a great job last week. So last week, you learned that analogies are 2 pairs of words that share the same relationship. They can be written in 2 forms, the form with the colons or the form with the words. I'm going to zoom out of this for a second. Nope. Come back here. That's what I wanted. Couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. Okay, so now that we can see, the only thing that I noticed last week was we were not making sure that words were the same form. So if you look here, you see the example, good is to bad, as day is to night. Those are antonyms. We had one that last week that was true is to false, as graceful is to clumsy, except that you had to figure out false. A lot of you put lie in the blank. True is an adjective. It describes if something is, in fact, a true statement, a real, correct statement. Truth is a noun. If I had put truth is to, lie is it can be a noun, you told a lie, or it can be a verb, you lie. Like that's an action that you do. But it is not an adjective. So you have to make sure that not only do the words, are they actually whatever relationship, but that they're their same word type. If it's a noun, you have to match it with a noun. If it's an adjective, you have to match it with an adjective. So true is to false. False describes something. Some of you put lie, like I said, and that is either a noun or a verb. So make sure that you're focusing on that. Other than that, we really did a good job of working on those. This week, and I'm going to go back, move myself here real quick. I'm going to go back to present so you guys can see things better. This week, we are adding in 3 new types of analogies. So we're going to go part to whole, or they can go whole to part. They can be like backwards. Tool to worker, or producer to product. And again, we're not forgetting about synonyms and antonyms. Your practices this week will focus on the above 3 types, and then the review quiz at the end of the week will wrap synonyms and antonyms back in, and that's how we'll continue. We'll learn new types, and then each week they'll spiral back in. So in part to whole analogies, they're all about relationships between words that are part of a larger something. So I give you the example of toe is to foot. Toe is a part of a foot, as nose is to, what do you think? It's to face. Nose is a part of your face the same way toe is a part of your foot. So let's do some examples. And remember, these are just practice to see how you're doing. Let's look. The following part to whole analogies. Goose is to gaggle. And if you don't know what that is, a goose is a part of a gaggle of geese. That's what you call a group of geese. As blank is to pride. Now we know that these are part to whole, so this would not be like pride that I take in myself, but like a group of something or a larger part of something. What do you think you would put in the blank? Limb is to tree, as nucleus is to. So a limb is a part of a tree. A nucleus is part of a. And then we have blank is to numerator, as chair is to leg. If I look at that given pair, chair is not a part of a leg. A leg is a part of a chair. So a chair contains a leg, or a chair has a leg. It starts with the larger whole and it goes to the smaller part. So for the blank, I would want something has a blank, or contains a blank. What do you think you'd put in there? Let's see how you did. So, goose is to gaggle, as lion is to pride. A lion is a part of a pride. Limb is to tree as nucleus is to cell. A nucleus is a part of a cell, and a fraction has a numerator and a chair has a leg. How'd you do on those? All right. Well, let's see. Let's go on to our next type for the week. We have tool to worker. And these analogies are all about the relationships between a worker and the tool that he or she would use. So for an example, I gave you astronomer. That's someone who studies the stars. They're going to use a telescope. That's their tool. What would a doctor's tool be? Now, obviously, there's a couple different things that you could put in here. I said stethoscope. A doctor, that's typically what I think of. They have a stethoscope around their neck. There are other options that you could put in there, but stethoscope is what came to my mind. So astronomer is to telescope as doctor is to stethoscope. All right, you try these ones. So a gamer is to console. A gamer has to use a game console to game on, as blank is to stove. What job would use that? What do you think? Chef. A chef would use a stove. Very good. Hose is to firefighter. A hose uses a firefighter. That doesn't make any sense, but it's just a flipped relationship. A hose is used by a firefighter. A blank is used by a secretary. What do you think you would put there? I said phone. You may have put computer. You may have put something else, but I think of Mrs. Giberson in our office, and she's always on the phone with someone, doing work for our school. So that's a tool that's used by a secretary. A mathematician uses a calculator, as blank is to net. What profession would use a net? A fisherman. That's right. Hopefully you said something to do with fishing. So we were looking either in some instances for the profession, and in some instances we were looking for the tool that they used. So in these, when you solve them, you're going to be trying to determine that relationship. Remember, when you get these, they won't all be together. You'll have to determine the relationship. But if you figure out maybe it is a tool to worker relationship. And the final relationship that we have is a producer to product. These analogies are all about relations between something being made or coming from something else. So example, bee is to honey as tree is to blank. I would say a bee makes honey and a tree makes paper. Maybe that's what came to my mind. Maybe you thought fruit if it's a fruit tree. It would be anything like that. So let's try just a few of these. So chicken is to egg as blank is to lemonade. So a chicken lays an egg, or a chicken has an egg. A chicken creates an egg. Something creates lemonade. Well, that's what do you think? I about gave the answer. Maybe you were listening. You got it. Lemons make lemonade, or lemonade comes from lemons. Oxygen is to plants as blank is to instruments. Well, oxygen is made by plants. So what do you think is made by instruments? Music. Hopefully you said music is made by instruments. Bakers are to cookies as blank is to guacamole. Well, bakers make cookies. What makes guacamole? Avocados make guacamole. Very good. All right. So as that's our lesson for the week, just looking at the different types that you're going to see. It's not a new skill. It's just different types. Remember that you will not see them in isolation like that. They'll be all mixed up. Those are just some new types of analogies. So when you're given an analogy, now you know it might be a synonym. It might be an antonym. Maybe it's a tool to worker. Maybe it's a worker to product. Or a producer to product, excuse me. Maybe it's a part to a whole. You'll see those in your practices this week, and then we will just continue with analogy practice, with the end goal again being that when you're given an analogy, you've been exposed to a lot of the different types and you're able to solve them. So now, how are you feeling about analogies after this week? These ones aren't as straightforward as synonyms and antonyms, but how do you feel? What questions do you have, if any? If you've got something great to celebrate, or if there's anything we can help with, make sure you leave that in the comments. And we will get going with analogy practice tomorrow. Have a good day, guys.